These 11 women were in a hostile and toxic work environment, and that we should believe women, and that what we have an obligation and a duty to do is to protect women in their workplace. And what this investigation revealed was a disturbing pattern of conduct by the governor of the great state of New York.
Again, the delivery, to me, there's something a little bit much, and there's something quite lacking, in my opinion, in the report that she came up with, which isn't a criminal referral. I don't know exactly what it is, so let's bring in the expert, the world-famous Alan Dershowitz, professor emeritus at Harvard Law School and author of a great book, by the way, Guilt by Accusation, The Challenge of Proving Innocence in the Age of Me Too. Welcome back, Professor. What do you make of the Attorney General's findings about Governor Cuomo?
Totally and completely one-sided. When you have a law enforcement official saying we should believe women, that's like saying we should believe Jews, we should believe blacks, we should believe whites, we should believe Eskimos. You don't believe people based on gender or based on identity. You believe them based on the facts. And when she includes in her report the fact that there were those who said that Governor Cuomo looked women up and down and looked at various parts of their bodies, it trivializes the report. Look, there are three different kinds of accusations, some very serious. The accusation about him putting his hand underneath somebody's blouse and cupping her breast, very serious, but it's anonymous. No opportunity to cross-examine. We don't even know what questions were asked, if any, by those who conducted the report. The report should not be taken as gospel, as truth. So category one, very serious, but he denies it. He denies he ever touched anybody. Category two is this vague notion of hostile environment. And category three, this notion of he looked somebody up and down, that's in the eye of the beholder. So he should fight back. He should challenge. Cross-examination is the best engine for determining truth. It goes back to the Magna Carta. And just because a woman says something doesn't mean that it's true and doesn't mean it should be believed. It should be investigated. It should be looked at. But facts are very difficult things, and they're tough things, and they're important things. I know I was falsely accused. I was able to disprove it by the woman's own emails and her own tape recordings, and everything proved that she lied. So women do lie. Many women tell the truth. Let's find out what's true, what's false, what's exaggerated, but let's not presume guilt, and let's not jump to conclusions.
We're going to play in a moment a phone message or a phone call between one of the accusers and Governor Cuomo. We'll evaluate that. You tell me if this sounds like this is the opposite of an obscene phone call, but this was submitted as evidence. Let me ask you this. I've heard from a lot of people, though, hey, if an ordinary person at a company were accused of these things, he'd be fired right away. And that might be true. But it's different when you're a public official. I mean, 3.5 million people voted for this person.
Look, I don't care if you were hired yesterday. It's wrong to be fired based on an accusation. It's wrong to be fired based on 10 accusations. The accusations have to be proved. And we know that when one person and two people make accusations, there tends to be pile-on. Other people come forward. We believe in due process. We don't believe in believing people based on their gender identity. So no, I agree with you that if a person's been elected by 3.5 million people, or Bill Clinton, or Donald Trump, there's a much higher threshold for impeachment. I know I defended President Trump and Bill Clinton against impeachment charges, and I would, feel the same way about Governor Cuomo if he were to be impeached. There has to be proof to a high level of certainty that these events occurred and that they were sufficiently serious. Some of them are sufficiently serious, but they haven't been proved.
So we've come a long way, or maybe we've gone back, or maybe we've advanced. I don't know. But we all know what happened between Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky, and we can debate the legalities and the constitutionality of what happened next. But that happened, and they admitted it. This is a phone call that was submitted as evidence by the Attorney General, and it's part of the report. Charlotte Bennett, the accuser, records a phone call with the governor. Let's listen, please.
Hello? Hi, Governor.
Yeah.
This is Charlotte.
Okay. Are you ready?
I am ready.
You don't know that song?
No,
Before your time.
it's before my time, but I appreciated the singing.
Do you love me? Do you really love me? Do you love me? Do you care?
I'll have to listen now.
Yep. It's like the 50s. It's before even my time.
Oh, there you go. Now I have less of an excuse.
You ready?
Yes.
So I've heard different reactions that, oh, this is so bad. To me, that's a joke. To me, that's meaningless. Professor, what do you think of that call?
I think it's worse than meaningless. If that's the best they can come up with, you know how many people would be subject to a call like that? Look, he's the governor. That's his style. He tends to be friendly to people. If you don't like it, don't vote for him. But the idea of turning that into a crime or a tort, or using it as evidence of a crime or a tort, is worse than a joke. It's a clear violation of civil liberties. If we were to start disciplining every woman who looked at a man up and down, or every man who looked at a woman up and down, or looked at various parts of their body, everybody would be disciplined. And we just have to make sharp lines between what is criminal, what is tortious, what is just maybe bad behavior, what is something that maybe we wouldn't vote for somebody for. But the Me Too movement is destroying our Constitution, and it's destroying our presumption of innocence. It's destroying due process. It's destroying the whole notion that you have to have evidence before you believe somebody. And the idea that we believe people because of gender is so dangerous, because tomorrow it'll be race. The day after tomorrow, it'll be sexual preference. That's not the basis on which we make decisions. That's called identity politics. We make decisions on the basis of facts and evidence. And if this is the evidence, it's going nowhere.
There are a lot of reasons not like Governor Cuomo, but in my opinion, this report is not one of them.
Look, Governor Cuomo is a hypocrite when it comes to this. Look at what he said about Kavanaugh.
I understand. And what happened to Kavanaugh was horrific and should not have happened.
That's right.
But we're not going to judge him on what he said about Kavanaugh. I mean, on this matter, it's
I'm going to judge him as somebody whether I'd vote for him, but I don't judge him based on whether or not he should be impeached or whether or not he should be criminally investigated or prosecuted. We all are entitled to make our own personal judgments about people, but when it comes to the government making law enforcement judgments, there has to be hard evidence, not just we believe women. And when a prosecutor says women must be believed, she has disqualified herself from being taken seriously as an independent and neutral prosecutor.
Professor Dershowitz, I'm so glad you're alive and well and offering your commentary. It's very important. The book, once again, is Guilt by Accusation, The Challenge of Proving Innocence in the Age of Me Too. To be continued, sir, and we'll be right back.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.